Hello, it's Colette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I am coming on to share with you all the energy of what is going on right now. And I know that you've all been truly going through such a big portal and feelings of complete chaos. And that's what it's been like planetary on a planetary level. I mean, I kind of have some awareness of what's going on in a planetary level. I'm not an astrologer, but I really, really understand and feel energy as things move in astrology and in cycles. Being, a druid, we really truly work with the cycles of the land and the energy and what nature's showing us and the feelings in the air. And we have been riding through some really very difficult times. I am part of that movement that is facing such a personal challenge at the moment. And what we can really begin to deduce from maybe the last 16 months that there's been a real challenge given to us in that the times have been challenging, life has been challenging. We seem to get through one thing and another thing shows itself, and it's been one after the other and after the other. And each time we have to face what it is, we have to face ourselves and what it's trying to show us and where we need to grow and heal from it. And then we really need to find out, how is this trying to transform me? What is this trying to show in me that needs to be changed? And that is really, really key message as we work through this. It's not about being a victim and thinking that we're being victimized or we're being hard done to here, but it's really about that we're going through such a cataclysmic time in our humanity that is insisting that we change as human beings and that we evolve. And with evolution comes chaos, comes sacrifice, comes suffering. And we must know that as the world suffers, we can see out the many, many, many people suffering at the moment, that there is our own part to contribute to that suffering and to know that we are not exclusive of it and that we can't escape it. So, some of the key things that are going to be testing you, number one, is relationship. And that is not just relationship with your partner, but relationship with other people as well. And what we're being really asked to do is to understand that in all our relating, it can improve and that we can be better people in our relationships. It's showing us that there could be really deep patterns that happen in your relating that keep going over and over and over. Maybe you're finding yourself in a different relationship, but maybe the same story is going on. Our behavior patterns will come up in relationship. Like, do you know whether you're attached, avoidant, or that you're a dismissive, or that you're secure in relating? Have you done tests to know what your relating style is like and how they root down into our childhood wounds? And that is going to be a theme that keeps coming up. The child inner healing needs to happen, our traumatic experiences, what we've gone through in childhood. And there's one thing that's really obvious, that when somebody thinks they've had a really great childhood, then usually just the consciousness has not been cast a light upon what things that you could have been deprived of as a child, and the things that as a consequence of being emotionally neglected, not fully accepted, all of those things, maybe not supported, maybe not allowing your soul essence and your vibe as a kid to be, expressed, or your own personal choices, but the impression from what was expected of you, and an old fashioned way, many of us have come through that, of parenting, which was physically violent, emotionally abusive, and also lacking of understanding of how we parent in a conscious way. Now, it's not about blame, it's about owning that our own parents went through their own stories of childhood and trauma, and that we are a manufacturement of that. We are an outlet of the pain at points, and that we ourselves will do stuff with our children that need healing. This is an ongoing healing cycle. And again, I just want to reiterate, this is not about victimhood or blaming. It's about seeing that trauma creates trauma. So traumatized parents create traumatized children, and it goes on and on and on until somebody stops it. And this is the generation that are stopping it. There is many of us stepped up and say, hang on, I'm going to be the first one that goes uni. I'm going to be the first one that's self-employed. I'm going to be the first one that steps out of those old constructs. I'm going to be the first one that's connected to spirit outside religion. All of those, I'm going to be the first one, are the ways in which you cite the family unit and say, actually, I'm going to break free from alcoholism that runs through my family. I'm going to break free from, child abuse or anything. We are the recreators of what happens in the future. So that we must understand that there are some things that we are all healing from, and there are many things that are unconscious in us that we need to heal from. And usually it's only when we kind of step into therapy, maybe a relationship's broke down and we want to get help for that, that the inner child stuff starts to be shown in that therapy and how it's affecting you in your relationship or in your work or in your life. So we are designed as human beings to have really, defensive mechanisms within the body. And the amygdala is part of our body's defenses in the brain that will hide trauma. It will take hold of the trauma and it takes it into the unconscious so that you don't have to deal with it constantly. Because, of course, our psyche would not be able to deal with knowing all our trauma and all the things that have super affected us and hurt us all at once. It would really damage our personality and our being. So it's a slow process of constantly, until the day we die, things unearthing themselves within our psyche so that we become conscious of that affects us. And there's nothing like a breakup in a relationship, a disease, being sacked from work, or a big blow up in your family, for example, that begins to show you the wounds that need to be healed. Now, of course, they also belong to the other party. We need matter to bounce these healings off. But your responsibility is not the other person. Your responsibility is to yourself and to your own healing and to your own well being. So, relationship is going to be massive, and it has been massive, and apparently for some star signs even more prolific at the moment, in addressing where in your relationship is the trouble. Is the relationship toxic? Is it giving? Is it just childhood wounds playing out? And is there a capacity or a scope to heal them? And let's not forget that relating in a loving relationship brings up, especially when it gets very deep, especially when it gets very intimate. And I mean intimate on a really deep level of really seeing that person, really knowing the bad parts of that person and the good parts. That brings up our stuff. And all those inner child parts come up in relationship. And that's what generally begins to bring problems forward. Now, if both partners are willing to take a good look at themselves and say, okay, what can I own here and how do we move forward in this? Then the relationship has a chance of evolution, always. And there's never one party more responsible for the wounding that plays out, because we attract in the other, as I know within Jungian psychology. So my partner is a mirror of my inner animus, and I am a mirror of his inner anima. And that scares us to death because we wouldn't like to admit that. But that's the truth, in that we are mirrored back a feminine or masculine energy that needs to be healed within us. And can we be loving? Can we, in those triggers when we're not loving, can we come back to love after some damage has been done? And that takes two willing parties. If the other person isn't willing, if these toxic cycles keep going over and over and over again, and the other person doesn't decide to get help, or you don't decide to get help, That's going to end, and we need to understand that there is a time that we need to let go. And that's when unwillingness to move in the relationship will come up. We can begin to compare our relationships with other people. We can say, well, other people can successfully stay married or in a relationship really well. But are they? Are they in a relationship where they're not self sacrificing? Are they in a deep, intimate relationship? And I had this conversation with somebody the other week, speaking on relationship, where in our relationship, where are we sacrificing? So we might have this great conversation, we might be financially really secure, but our sexual connection is done and dusted. It's done, it's not there. Or we can have a great sexual relationship, but that deeper emotional conversation is missing. We can all look at our relationships and we can bury what's missing away at the sacrifice of our own soul. Or we can take a good look at our relationship and say, actually, this is where I'm really missing out. And I need to express that to my partner. And for me on a soul path, I think it's really important that I and you all understand that all areas can be fulfilled if all of us are willing. So if the area is your sexual relationship, is that other person going to get help for that? Are they willing to look at their blocks? Are you willing to look at your blocks there? The same with deep, intimate, emotional satisfaction. Are both of you willing to go there? And not many people think about relationship in this deeper level. I know years ago, my relationships were very shallow. They were very surface level. But as we begin to evolve as humans, we beginning to question how important relating is, how important that person that we go to bed with every night, that we're on the same page, that we're entering into a deeper state of let's go to work, let's watch the TV, and then let's go to sleep. We want more. Our soul needs more. And that is also reflected in friendships. Can we meet each other equally? Even when we're triggered or hurt, can we express that? Are we with people that we can express something we feel, think, imagine, get wrong? It doesn't matter. Are we able to do that? Are we able to say to that person, hey, this is how I feel? And many of us can't do that. Many of us can't express how we feel and then often blame the other person. And then many of us can't take what someone says to us about how they feel. We don't listen. So we're being either or. And this time's going to really show up faults in relationships, the areas in relationships, friendships, people that we know, what needs to be worked on. And just see every single challenge, fallout, situation as something that's coming up to really try to help you change and understand that there's something that could be evolved. So today you can see I'm in my yoga t-shirt. I've been teaching yoga and we did a spiritual class on alignment. We talked about the alignment of the planets and how that had impacted us and what needed to be aligned to. And this came up in conversation when we went for coffee after, just our friendships, being able to speak what we feel, not diluting ourselves, trying to listen, trying to speak more. And none of us have got that right. But trying to be aware in a group situation, what's my role? I'm an overspeaker. I talk too much. Can I give space to others? Do I listen attentively when other people are speaking, or am I just trying to say my bit? Am I aware that there might be somebody in the group that isn't saying much, is not getting the space, or that they're in a reaction or emotion to like what we might be speaking about? I think this is how we evolve, and there's no pointing fingers saying you're right, you're wrong, but just this is how I feel. And if you can't accept how somebody feels, there's work to be done there. We can't take that personally. A feeling of somebody isn't personal, it's their feeling, but can we listen? Can we hold that the person feels that way? Can we hold them in that say, I'm listening, that's how you feel? I think that's becoming very important in our relating with anybody, in a work situation, in a friendship situation. And so I want to go back to, so we've talked about relationship with lovers, we've talked about friendships, and then we're talking about alignment. So the planetary alignment that we had yesterday was really significant for me, that I sent an email out sharing with people how to work with that, and just bringing the body in sync with nature and the planets and the cycles that affect us so deeply as human beings, and how I can really begin to see what's trying to be brought to an end in my life, whether that's a relationship, a friendship, or a pattern of behavior in relationship, whether that's work or a job. Maybe it's a concept, maybe it's your understanding of things in the world. They need to change as the world changes. Those outdated beliefs and ways of healing and looking at things are changing. And maybe it's about knowing that certain things are moving us towards a deeper evolution of ourselves and our souls, and that the ways in which we've kept ourselves in constructs of expectation, of imprints from societal, you know, expectations of us as women or men, or what roles we should have in society, are beginning to drastically change. And what we need to do is stop listening to the noise outside of ourselves. We need to stop listening and feeling the wounds that drive us to stay in jobs, relationships, and situations we don't want to be in, that are not serving us on a soul level. Now, I want to make a big distinction between not wanting to be in, because sometimes we need to be in a challenge, we need to face fear. But what we don't want to be in is a situation that is absolutely depleting us, that is continually going over and over and over again. And we have to take self-responsibility that we can break. We then need to look at things like what is going on with us individually. And in my sessions, I've been working with a lot of unworthiness, actually. People really not feeling their worth, not understanding that they are higher value, that they are allowed to live a fantastically wonderful, soulful, exciting life, that they can step out of the box. And usually when I work with people, one of my biggest fields of work is empowering people to move into big aspects of their life. And I've worked with hundreds of people to empower them to step into soul work, into their soul's desire. And I know many of you that have worked with me that will listen to this, that's been a progress for you when you've worked within this container, in that I've been trying to highlight 2 places where you're keeping yourself small and where you don't step into the higher purpose. And the higher purpose is calling us all right now. And what we will do, we will defend it. We will make excuses. We will say, well, I'm not on the enough money. We will say, oh, I've not got enough time. Oh, I've got too many demands. Oh, I can't do that because of the red tape of this visa, or that, I'm not allowed to do this, and that. It's all excuses. Because really, when we're heading towards soul alignment, when we're trying to help a greater good on this earth, all that stuff will move. And I've worked with so many people, and my own self, that has made huge movements when I felt that all the odds were against me, financially, emotionally, all of those things. And actually, that is the right time to do it. It's exactly the right time, when the red tape is saying no, when the finances are saying no, especially if it is a soul aligned course. It will conspire that you are met to provide that in humanity at this moment in time. So we're looking at stepping into work or into community projects. We're looking at upping our game. We're looking at pulling out of our closet all those things that we love, we would have loved to have done if we'd have had the courage. we would have definitely done if we'd had the money. We would most certainly have signed up to if we had the time. And we need to realize that they're all excuses and start to write down and share with people, because there's nothing like sharing with people to make yourself accountable what it is you really want. And what really upsets me the most when I work with people is when they don't know what they want. Now, that is a space that can be worked with. That's a space where we look at, well, let's start connecting to your soul, because that person is very unlikely to be soul connected, that they are very mind connected, that they are living in their head space, they are living in their ego, they are living in their thoughts. And the first step is to come into the body. So that's why I teach body work locally. I teach yoga locally so that people can get back into their body, get back into your physical body, feel what aches and pains you, get to the yoga class and be in the body and feel the stretch and feel the inflexibility, because it's all connected to your mind. And what happens in that body work class, whatever style it is you do, you will begin to feel the restrictions of your body that connect to restrictions of your mind. And once you get through that block of the mind and you really feel and drop and use the breath to bridge with the body, we begin to enter into soul space. Certain realizations start to come, certain emotions start to lift in us. That's the route into soul. And from that place, that's why it's scary and some people run off from body work. When we start to touch that soul place, begins to speak to us, and it tells us this is not good for you. You can't carry on like this. You need to treat your body better. You need to stop drinking all the time. You need to eat better food. This person is toxic for you. The body tells you all that because the soul starts to speak. And this is going to be the way forward. Well-being, nurturing, healing is all the future stuff. More healing techniques will come in. We heal things, we really start to let go of things. Toxic relationships, we let go of. Drinking, we let go of. Not being self-loving, we let go of. We let go of all these things that are haunting us. So that is the aftermath of alignment, planetary alignment yesterday, and asking yourself, are you aligned? Are you soul aligned? Are you always in the head? Are you constantly in a headspace that does not allow you to go deeper down here, that tells you what to do? I would say over the next few days, I've had my journal, I've wrote out what I want from a relationship, what I want from work, what I want in connection to other people, what I want out of community, because community's come really important for me over the last few months, well, year and a half, I'd say. And I would write all those down. If you are unable to acknowledge your desires and your hopes and your dreams and what your soul is here for, then you're going to have to do the work to connect to the soul. I've got some YouTube videos on soul connection. I think I've got a free meditation and transmission on soul connection on my website. And it really is a place that I've been working with within last month's Women That Runs with Wolves. There's a chapter in there that talks all about connection to soul. That lesson is also in my library. And I'm willing to work with people on this on a more personal level. I'm actually going to free up more one-to-one space online so that people can really get some support if they need in connecting to soul, their dreams, their healing, and moving forward. That's one of my specialities, is to bring people into that space. So I'd really like to do some more work with that. But just you all to spend this time on working in those areas. This is a chance we'll never get again. We will get, but probably in another lifetime. These alignments, these conjunctions, these supermoons, they're all happening at a very apocalyptic time in our humanity. Apocalypse doesn't mean the end. It means to end what is going on and move into a new cycle. So the new cycle, what does that look like for you? What does the new cycle, what does the new next part of your life look like? And the last thing I wanted to say is to acknowledge that we are going to come into more Venus energy. Now I'm smiling because Venus, I'm a Taurian, so I have a lot of Venus energy in me, and really feeling that I need the Venus energy to come in, because I would really like to be in receipt of some divine love, some feminine love, some of that sensuality, some of that exuberance, some of that richness and beauty of life. That's what Venus, the archetype, is all about. She's all about this just lusciousness and self-love, real amounts of self-love. And I think we could all do with a dose of that as we start to really begin to move through the chaos. It's a very well-known quote by Jung again that says, through chaos comes divine order. And we really need to understand that as we come through all of this, struggle is part of life. And when struggle comes, it's always the sign of transformation. It's always the sign that something is in metamorphosis, of coming out in a different way, shape, or form. So spoke enough there, but I really felt that this was important to give you all some guidance and some help and some support as we travel through this. And if there's any more support needed, please do not hesitate to connect to me through my website, www.templedelarose.com. Join my groups. My Sacred Rose Temple and the Women That Runs With Wolves groups are full of thousands of women trying to also touch this space and live a wilder, happier, more soulful, connected life. So I invite you to join those groups. They're free. And just take care of yourself and speak your truth, speak it out, stop diluting yourself, allow yourself to be full concentrate, allow yourself to share how you feel, and allow yourself to be in safe space with people that you know are on your frequency, people who will listen, people who will self-reflect, people who will do the work on themselves too, and stay in that supportive cocoon. I think it's very, very doubly important as we move through this transition. So sending you all so much love, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.